Hey, welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. The host, Jeremy Todd. Glad you are tuning in. You know what? Before I get started, I just want to make sure I pronounce your name correctly. It's Nathanael. How do I pronounce your last name?
Zurbruegg.
Zurbruegg?
Zurbruegg. Yeah,
So
that's fine. Zurbruegg.
I want to make sure I get it right. Zurbruegg?
Zurbruegg.
Uh,
Zurbruegg. Say
Zurbruegg?
Zurbruegg. Yeah, that's cool.
Whatever, right? I'm just gonna say Nathaniel. I'm gonna bring you in. How about that?
There are not many of them in this world.
All right, perfect. Let's rock it. Again, welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. This is the host, Jeremy Todd. Glad you're tuning in. Exciting stuff in my life. I got good news. The book is coming out, and what's exciting, I got the cover art done, and it's one of those goals I've worked really, really hard to accomplish. And I've gone over all kinds of things in my mind about why I can't do things and why I can't overcome this. And I finally did it. And it's brought me a tear to my eye. It's one of those things that when you accomplish something you've always dreamt of, it just means so much more. And it's so weird and so crazy and so cheesy, but literally I've like had tears come to my eyes multiple times in the last few days. And really what I mentioned that, and I'm going to bring my guest on here in just a second. Nathaniel, I already told you I'm not going to butcher your last name, but I'll have you pronounce your last name. But one of the reasons I wanted you on my show is because you have overcome all kinds of things in your life. I mean, from an incurable chronic disease, a medical diagnosis, you shouldn't have been able to walk, talk, amount to anything but dying 6 times by now. You're an entrepreneur, award-winning global inspirational speaker, and victorious mindset mentor. So I ask you this, my friend. This is one of the greatest things I've accomplished was my book, just because it was a goal that I put off. What is one of the greatest things that you've ever accomplished?
Great question. Hey, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited for that. The greatest thing that I have accomplished is probably, I really have to think about which one the greatest is. I think it's my 30 km run when I turned 30 years old. That was 2 years ago in November. And so as you already said that I shouldn't be able to walk, talk, and amount to anything. But that was probably the greatest achievement that I ever did, besides a couple more achievements.
Well, I mean, hey, when it comes down to it, that is a gigantic accomplishment, right? I mean, all the things that you've been through. I mean, let's chalk that up to being number one, man. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your mission isn't complete yet. You have so much more to come, and that's what's really exciting about this is that, for whatever reason, and it's a big thinking. For whatever reason, I don't know why, you don't know why, and maybe you do know why. Hell, I don't know, but you're still here, and you still have purpose, and there's still your work is not done yet. When I talk about that, when I talk about your work, what do you think you still have to accomplish in this life?
Oh, quite a lot. I still have a bright future ahead. The accomplishment, I think, for me was always the main focus was the mindset. When you go through struggles and the positions and pain and all that, you learn early on to get busy with yourself, and you think about why the heck is that happening to me? Am I someone different than somebody else because all the things happening? And you really learn to get to know yourself, to identify who you are. And what has helped me so much in accomplishment is to know my who, in order that I can more focusing on or removing things that don't fit into my who. And I probably think that's the cool thing about being full of struggles or position and all that. You separate yourself from the from the masses, and you really get into what you're called to do and the purpose and all that.
I love what you said there because sometimes people with disabilities, or struggles, or deep down to whatever the case is, you put your identification on whatever you want, because with me and some of the struggles I've had in my life, I got this bone problem, and I'm 5'2", and I'm not that big guy, and I've struggled with these things my whole life. But what was interesting and what it made a big mind shift for me was, instead of saying that, hey, I'm an outsider, and I don't belong with the masses, it almost felt like I didn't belong. But in reality, that actually is a powerful thing. It's a powerful position to be in, because you don't fall in line. You are different. You have this ability to generate eyes watching you, and it's spotlights on you at all times. And one of the things that I took, through my journey and through my struggles was just that. Like, maybe I'm meant to be completely different, so I can get more eyes to inspire more people. And that's something that I've really, that's a complete mind shift switch in my life, for sure. But obviously with you and some of the things that you've gone through, I mean, you've obviously had some terrible, terrible dark times. And I'm just curious, like, this is probably a strange question to ask you, but when you were at your darkest time, where did your mind go on your darkest times? Like what brought you out of that? Because I know there's a lot of people that listen to this podcast, it's a motivational, inspirational thing, that are really struggling at times. What brought you out of your deep down struggle?
Great question. For me personally, it's definitely my faith into whatever you call it. For me, it's God in a higher power. Because I want to share a quick story. I was 9 years old when I lost my second kidney transplant. And for about 2.5 years, you have to imagine, I lived a life from 7 years old in the same manner that somebody used to live 7 years before. So I learned a lot only because I had the kidney. I could start feeding myself, going out, taking time with friends and all that. Before that, I was in the hospital. I was fed by artificial food and all that. So that was the time I was fully flourishing, as well the time I realized there could be, or there is, another life, a normal life. And when that time was finished, when I lost my second kidney transplant again, I fell into deep depression because I couldn't understand why this happened to me. I was like, almost didn't want to let go of the kidney. I only had to because it did so much damage to my body that I realized that I have to let it go. But I remember the time I was like 2 weeks on my in the living room on the couch, didn't eat anything, didn't talk anything, and almost didn't move. And so I was in the darkest place of my life. But the cool thing was that at the time, my parents realized that I'm not really doing well. They never knew until years later that I wanted to take my own life. That I was like, for 2 weeks, I was thinking like, why would I still want to be alive with all these struggles and all that? So I was, in my head, in my mind, all I wanted to do was to cut off my life. I never tried it because I felt like there was a force telling me give up, and there was another force on the other side telling me, hey, just keep going a little bit more. And so my parents plugged, we call it pastors into a home, and something shift because I realized that in that state when I was, nobody, you just can't get out by yourself because you don't have any strength, you don't have any motivation, and you don't want it. You don't want to go out. Neither my parents could help me. So for me, it's the faith. I believe that we are called, everybody's called to have a relationship with with a God that unconditionally loves us. And that's my faith. And so this has, yeah, I think since, I don't know, 5, 6 years old, it has helped me to keep the focus, to have hope of a better future, to know and believe that all things will work out for the good, no matter the past, the present. And this is something that has taken me through, because the moment I started to believe that, the moment I knew that the present that I was in, the struggle, um, it's not going to be there all the time. So what it did was, my faith has helped me to build up a certain hope of a better future. And that in turn has given me strength to get up. And so that's part of my life that I experienced.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that story with me, because it's so funny. And as being in the United States, like, we think that we have our own issues here in the States, which we do, but depression and all these things that you've gone through is international. It's around the world, that everybody struggles with at some point in their lives, and that's why I think it's just so amazing that you've been through it. You've gone through it, and you're a global inspiration, and it means a lot to me. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because there isn't too many people that let me rephrase this. When you get to that dark point, there's a lot of people that go the other way. You made the decision to shift your mindset and stay in this lifestyle and say, hey, I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to inspire others. And that's what you do. You inspire people globally. And one of the things I really like, and I want you to talk about this with your ebook, you got 4 steps to unlimit your life. Go over those 4 steps with us to really talk about what, and obviously I know you're going to explain it correctly, but when you're in that down struggle time, and life doesn't seem like it can get any better, and then you all of a sudden come up with an ebook of 4 steps to unlimit your life, talk about that and talk about how you came up with it.
Great question. Yeah, so the first steps, it didn't come like the steps. I always lived it out, but I never was aware of them until maybe 2-3 years ago. And so what it does, the first steps is all about, the first step is about identifying who am I. That's what I said in the beginning, like really going deeper, looking at you, separating yourself from the crowd, and just taking time with yourself to know who you are. Because I know that everybody here who's listening has a unique personality, unique strength, passion, and values that are all intertwined, all in constellation with each other, and only you have that in this world out of 8 billion people. The second step is all about finding out, what am I here for? How can I use my who and give it into this world? Again, you have something to give in this world. You don't have to speak to millions of people or 100 people. It can be completely something different, but you have something that anyone or even only one person in this world needs. What am I here for? To identify that. The third step is about taking the 2 questions, or the two answers of the 2 questions, the who am I and the what am I here for, and to create something. And that's what I love about. We are all creating beings. We have an intentionality, the need of wanting to create something, and so everybody can create something. And so you take those 2 steps, the first and the second one, and you take your passion, strengths, and values, and you create something. It can be something that's already existing and you build on that, or something that no one has ever done, or it doesn't exist. And then the fourth step is all about stepping into that creation, that creational part, to be consistent, to know. I have to say, when you create something, you basically automatically have a dream, a vision where you want to go. And the fourth step is all about stepping into that. You have the foundation of creating something, the dream, the vision, and then you build on that. You step into it. You consistently live it out. You you shape and develop your strength, passion, and values and your identity, and you keep going until you are there. And I promise you, once you finish one dream, there are endless dreams continuing. So you are never finishing with the first dream. It depends how big it is. If it's a dream that takes you about 90 years, then probably yes. But if you usually you have finished the first dream and you just want to go to the next dream. And that's a beautiful thing of our life, because it's all about unlimiting, taking out the unlimited stuff that is already in you but didn't hasn't been put into practice yet, to take it and put it into practice.
You know, it's interesting you say that because, you know, I mentioned briefly when I started the podcast that, hey, I finally wrote this book. I've been talking about literally for years and years and years and years. And I finally got it done. And you know what's so funny too? I've said this 1,000 times for all the people listening. I apologize. I keep repeating myself, but I have never written more than 2 paragraphs in my entire life. And then I wrote this book, and it's not very long, but that was a dream that I've had for forever and ever and ever. And I got it accomplished, and now you're like you said, hey, I'm looking at doing the next one and the next one and the next one. One of the things that gets in my way, and this is, I just really want your perspective, because I know you're gonna have an interesting perspective with this question, but I think in my life, I'm 42, and I'm running out of time. I feel like I'm so in such a hurry, and I don't want to miss a single thing. And I've had this recent shift, and only in the last couple of years, and I don't know why. I mean, 42 is, for me, that is, I've got it. I'm less than halfway through my life. So I got plenty of time left. But there was something that just shifted, and I don't know why. And I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot. Like, how I got to get this stuff done so fast. I've got to get this stuff done because I don't know when my last day is. And for you going through this situation, I'm just interested about your perspective on how, like, on your time frame, like when you get stuff done, what goes through your head when you think about that?
Great. Yeah, I completely feel you, because I've been there many times. Right now, it's exactly the perfect time because of the podcast and the season that I'm in, because just about maybe 6 months ago, I was in the same. And then I was thinking about, well, I become an entrepreneur, not to be more busy in life, but to enjoy my life, to be more flexible. And so I was thinking all about the roadblocks, what's going on in my mind. So I realized, like, well, first of all, why do I need to get stressed out about something? And it's a funny question, but I think, like, what we do as human beings is often like we all want to have control over everything, but that's just not possible, because what I realized is, firstly, letting go of the control. And believe me or not, the biggest breakthroughs in my career, whether it was health or business or speaking or whatever, they always come when I was slowing down. Sounds funny,
Well,
but
it makes sense. I mean, that makes
yeah,
sense for sure. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
yeah. And the second thing I think was, for me especially, was comparison. I heard, I mean, as a global inspirational speaker, or even you as podcaster, you know people around the world, and um, you just know what they do, whether it's from social media or anything else. And there are a lot of people, they have what you want to have, or they are where you want to be, but you're not there yet. And for me, it was like, yeah, comparison. So I tried to find a way to really change my mindset. One of the things I did, I deleted half of my social media platforms, because every time I was on there, I was like well, I was more frustrated afterward when I looked at
Sure.
somebody or followed somebody than before. And the second thing of taking action was like, just like, to always keep in mind that um, I I look at the years that are ahead of me. So I dream like I always tell myself I'm I'm not gonna boast about that because I'm not God about myself. I'm not how we say, I'm not saying when I'm dying, but I'm dreaming of becoming 120 years old. So I'm 32 almost. So I get about what's that, 80,
A long time.
82 years left.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, and that's a lot of years. And the other thing is, like, if you look back at the last 10 years and you realize what all you have achieved, it's incredible. So what you can achieve in 10 years is incredible. And so I'm looking always like I'm reflecting a bit what has been happening in the last 10 years. It blows my mind. And then how many years are ahead of me, possibly. Let's say maybe we all get 70, 80. So there are 30, 40 years more left for you to to go full on, and who knows what can happen during that time.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of having perspective of what time really is. Because like you said, when you look back 10 years, and boy, oh boy, 10 years from now or from in the past of me, I mean, it was completely different than what it is right now. There's no question about it. And then you think to yourself, man, if I just continue on this path, I continue working. I had this conversation with my oldest boy today. He's turns 14 next week, and I said to him, I said, son, you're 14. You've got your own little tiny business. It's a seed business, and he's selling like heirloom seeds across the country and all this stuff. And I said, I mean, you're 13. You'll be 14 in 2 weeks. If you just stick to it at your age, imagine him at 42. I mean, or 44, 43, 30 years for him. But again, what I think what gets in the way of people is their willingness to continue to actually work on it. They give up halfway through. They stop doing it because they're told that it's just not good enough, or they're not smart enough, or whatever the case is. What would you tell somebody if they're just trying to get through it? Because you've gotten through so many things in your life. What do you tell someone that just says that wants to give up? What would you say to that person?
Great question. I think, yeah, it's easy said than done, but for me, today the question is more like why do you wanna give up, or what's the purpose of giving up? I think for many times looking back in my life, I wanted to give up, but only saw the short-term situation, not the long-term one. And I think that's something that we, especially I would say in our culture, to learn about really looking at the long term and not the short term. I think we are so our mindset is so steered by we want to have everything right now at this moment.
Yeah.
But good thing happened over a long time, consistently. And if you are listening and you want to give up, just give it a chance for another 30 days. And then if you're there, look what it is. And then set another 30 days. Or even you can do only 7 days and then keep on going 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. And then I promise you at some point it's gonna be um, a light bulb moment, or you're gonna have a breakthrough, or an unexpected opportunity will come up. And so the thing um, of keeping going is hard, yes, but I would say it's so worth it. And I think thinking back on, I was playing before I come on the podcast. I played Sudoku, Maybe some of you know it
Oh
with the
yeah.
number. And so tonight I played one, and there was for 15 minutes I couldn't move ahead. I was looking everywhere, and then all of a sudden I saw number 3 somewhere. And from then on, it was like going up, and I was like, within maybe 5-10 minutes, I was finished. And so same with life. I think we have to have the courage, even though we feel like nothing happens. Um, Something is always happening, whether you see it or you can feel it. And we have to see the long term and stick to that.
I love it, brother. I know you got to get out of here, and I can't thank you enough for spending time. I know it's late. You're in Switzerland. I know it's super, super late there, but I want to make sure that for all the people out there that need help, that want to learn from you and learn how to get over these horrible things that you've been through, where can everybody find you?
Yes, so I have two websites. One is the personal website, one the business website. The first one is nathanaelzurbruegg.com, and the second one is unlimityou.co. Both of the websites you can get a hold of a free ebook of the 4 steps to unlimit your life. It's only free for a few more weeks before I'm going to make it better and charge for it. So get a hold of it, of the free one, and I believe that you will love it and it can add value to your life.
Well, I think it will too. I mean, just to understand what you've gone through and how you can get through this and the dark days and all the dark times. So if you're struggling out there, make sure you look up Nathanael. And I'm going to have everything in. I'll have all this links in the show comments as well. But again, I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate everybody listening around the world. Blown up in Switzerland. Holler at your boy. I love Switzerland. I was there about 9 months ago for like 3 days, and it was beautiful. I loved it. I flew into the airport there in Zurich, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful country. But like I said, I appreciate it. I appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate your time. For everybody out there, like I said, all the links will be in the show comments. But like I say it on every show, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you've got greatness within. Like always, this is the positive side.